So, welcome to our summer seasonal slowdown. So I'm moving into summer. And as our usual kind of format of this class, we'll have about an hour and a half's restorative yoga. Lots of focus on the kind of summer energetics. So the sort of movement of energy kind of up the sides. Obviously, it's a time of year where we do feel a little bit more energetic anyway. So we're not going to hold the poses for quite as long as we do sort of in the winter months, in the autumn. So it's going to be a little bit more kind of transitions between them, but still kind of lots of time to soak up the readings and feeling that creates. And then we'll finish off with our sort of 15-20 minutes of yoga nidra at the end. And I'm hoping that the light should hold, because I haven't put my light on. So it might be that by the end I'm in the darkness, but hopefully my voice will still be there. And as with normal, if you drift off, possibly less likely at this time of year, then please feel free to kind of come join us when you wake up again. And if you are still asleep at the end, then I will just we'll just finish the class, and hopefully you won't be too confused when you wake up and everything's finished. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. So if we can make our way into our first shavasana, so probably a bolster underneath the knees just to help relax the lower back. Obviously at this time of year our bodies tend to be a little bit warmer, and so often a bit stretchier. We sort of it's not always the case, but we often do feel kind of perhaps a little bit less stiff at this time of year, but it's still quite nice to prop under the knees, and then probably a blanket underneath the head, or a block even, and you can make a pillow out of a block, just to relax the head. Now we're just going to take a bit of time to settle into our practice and to begin our process of slowing down. So taking a big breath in through the nose, and then exhaling out, blowing out through the mouth. Imagining that you are blowing on some hot food, just that kind of slowing down of the breath. Again, big breath in through the nose. And then exhale, blowing out through the mouth. And with your exhales, relaxing the feet. Relaxing the ankles. Relaxing the legs. Relaxing the hips. Relaxing the abdomen and the lower back. Relaxing the chest and the upper back. Relaxing the hands. Relaxing the arms. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders. Relaxing the cheeks, the tongue, the forehead, and the whole face. And allowing the body to grow heavier, feeling supported and grounded by your mat, by your bolster, or whatever other support you may have underneath you. Settling into a steady rhythm of breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And your breath is always here during the practice, so your mind naturally drifts. And it naturally drifts quite extensively during restorative yoga. But if you find your mind moving on to something else, then just coming back to focusing on your breath. If spring is all about looking forward and autumn about dying back, Summer surely is the present moment, a long, hot now that marks the sultry climax of the year. Roughly bookended by haymaking and the grain harvest, it is a time of fruition and plenty, of promises fulfilled. Spring's generative riotousness slows and ceases, and a stillness settles over the land. For many people, summer is a time of leisure, days at the beach, or picnics in parks and gardens, long, fair-weather country walks. Often it feels too brief, or comes in installments. We pine for the 6 solid weeks of sunshine we believe we always had as a child. But in wanting to recapture those days, we risk missing the days we still have. Because what is that wish but a wish to be a child again, loosed from school, loosed from the house, and barefoot on the grass? Those Elysian summers, polished to dazzling brightness by the flow of years, can never be recaptured. But we have this summer, however imperfect we as adults may deem it, and we can go out and seek it at every opportunity we find. Haymaking and harvest are still key events for our farmers, but they're very different occasions now than they once were. No longer is it the labour of a whole village required to scythe, rake, ted, pitch sheaves to the wains, and build the ricks. No longer do women and children glean the stubbles after. Many communities are losing their connection to the land. Our countryside itself has changed too, no longer timeless, but subject to alteration and loss. Summer is no longer what it was, not because we've grown up, but because we've lost perhaps half the wildlife we shared the world with when we were young. We can all play our part by learning about the plants and animals we share the UK with, loving them for the joy they bring into our lives, and protecting the places where they live. Summer should be about abundance. It is our job to make sure we can hand down abundance to our children for all their summers to come. So either literally feeling the sun on your face or metaphorically feeling the sun on your face as you lie there, basking in its glow, soaking from that the feeling of relaxation, that sense of holidays and having nowhere that you need to be, nothing that you need to do. And as coming back to the breath, if you find the mind drifting. Taking a few more moments here, settling in, slowing down. And then from here, we're going to move in a moment. So taking a big breath in through the nose and exhaling it out through the mouth. And from here, bringing the feet up onto your bolster or whatever support that you're using. And just noticing the shift in the lower back. Not judging anything, just observing how it feels. And then walking the feet over to the right hand side of your bolster or your support. And taking a big breath in. And then exhale, dropping the knees over to the left side. And this might feel comfortable for you, or you may find it more comfortable just to roll the bolster a little bit closer to you, dropping the feet over the top. So the knees rest on the bolster, but the feet are on the ground. I'm just going to do a very gentle sequence of poses. Where we just begin to stretch the body in different ways, setting ourselves up for our later and deeper poses. The breath should be steady and slowing. Maybe even bringing the hands onto the abdomen to connect with your breath. And then on an inhale, picking the knees back up and taking your feet over to the left side of your bolster, on the left side of your mat, and dropping the knees over to the right side. Taking your twist in the opposite way. Feeling the steady rise and fall of the breath. And then inhaling, walking the feet back to the center. So centering yourself again. Maybe just taking the knees a little bit from side to side. Gently releasing the lower back and the hips. And then if you haven't already got your feet on your bolster, you're going to bring your feet back onto your bolster. And we're going to come into a supported thread the needle pose, not quite the full pose. So you're going to have your left foot on your bolster, and you're going to bring your right foot to just above the left knee. So we're going to set up for kind of thread the needle pose part of it. Now, you might find that you just want to support the right leg, or you might find that you want to kind of rest your right hand onto the right thigh, just so you're giving it a little bit of pressure, just encouraging it to open. And then we're just going to settle back into our poses. So taking a breath in, exhaling out through the mouth, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. And taking a breath in. And on the exhale, dropping the knees over to the left side. So keeping the leg where it is. So it's a kind of thread the needle and twist. So dropping the legs over to the left side. Again, you might find you want to just prop something underneath the thigh or maybe adjust the position of your left foot so that that's on the floor and the knee is supported with the bolster. And then inhaling, picking the legs back up, releasing the right foot back down to your bolster. And then coming on to the opposite side. So lifting the left foot, taking the left foot to just above the right knee. And whatever you did on the opposite side, so whether you propped the left leg or whether you just rested your left hand onto your left leg to give it a little bit more pressure, just taking that same option on this side. And inhaling and exhaling your legs over to the right side. So keeping that thread the needle position, but bringing it into a twist. Breath slowing, body softening. And inhaling to bring those legs back up, unraveling everything. And then one final pose of these kind of little sequence of slightly shorter poses. We're going to roll the bolster underneath your knees, bring the feet together, take a breath in, and then on the exhale, you're going to drop the knees wide. So the feet will be on the floor beyond your bolster and knees will be supported. So you're coming into a kind of slightly different version of reclining bound angle pose. And bringing the hands onto the abdomen. And just relaxing and settling into your pose. And then come back to this pose in a slightly deeper way towards the end of the class. And then just supporting the outsides of the thighs with the hands and drawing them back in together. And then bringing the feet back onto your bolster again. And from there, just drawing the knees very gently into the chest. And taking them around in a very slow and gentle circle, massaging the back. And taking the knees in both directions. And then bringing the feet back onto your bolster. So we're going to start to spend a little bit longer in our poses now after that little initial sequence. So we're going to come into initially a reclining heart opener. Now, in its very simple form, you can keep the feet where they are. So, sorry, taking the feet onto the mat with the bolster underneath your knees. And then you can either take the hands and the arms straight up above the head. So just keep that, you've still got your pillow, just stretching the arms up above the head. Or you can bring them into more of a kind of cactus arms effect. So arms are at shoulder height, and then you've got the elbows bent. And if you would like to have a little bit of a deeper heart opening stretch, then you can make yourself a little blanket roll, which will go underneath the bra strap. And that will just give you a little bit of a deeper opening into the chest. So just kind of have a little play around with what feels better for you. If you do take the blanket roll option, just making sure that you have got your shoulders on the ground, so you don't want it to be kind of too much of an opening. So just choosing your option. Taking a breath in and exhaling, settling into your pose. The day is starting late in the Kinder River Valley. Low cloud drifts, lifts, and then droops again. Rain follows the airstream. Trees grown tall as they search for more light, swaying threateningly on shallow roots constrained by gritstone bedrock. Rain bands sweep over, fine and enveloping, or hard and heavy, slashing and flattening the hay meadows. The high peak still has some mature hayfields, and at this time of year, knapweed, meadow foxtail, yellow rattle, plantains and vetches all make focus points in the undulating seas of grass. The scent of herbs fills the air if the sun shines. Some of the grass lies flattened but uncut, and some is cut and mouldering in the rain. Here and there, some has already been mown and gathered. Tram-lined fields show buff, pale and green, where farmers are hoping there will be enough summer for regeneration and another cut. they'll need it to winter the sheep. Somehow the patchy hayfield hillside pattern matches the ewes hereabouts, some shorn, most, because of the late-lasting cold weather, not. Gobbets of shedding fleece catch the breeze, flying and tumbling, and picking up moss until thistles hold them fast. Meanwhile, the ragged ewes walk on, trails of fleece blowing in their faces, like a vain old man's comb-over caught by the sea breeze off Blackpool Pier. Some ewes have molted a whole flank, and a glimpse of scalped pink skin shows beneath the growing summer coat. We've gathered some of the shed fleece and scoured it. Yes, real wool gathering, just as in the origins of the 16th century phrase. Meandering hither and yon, untangling the fleece, careful of the thistle spines as we walk to the next tress that catches our eye. Watching sheep at a distance, you wouldn't think they have their own scent, but a bag of raw fleece has its own bouquet, herby molasses and coal tar soap. Not that unpleasant for a year without a bath. When we've had the best of summer and indoor pastimes prevail, I'll have a go at spinning this, either with the spinning wheel or with the drop spindle I've been experimenting with here at Farlands. Later that week, another warm, dry afternoon after so many cold, miserable days. Perfect for listening to the birds' post-lunch tune-up, while my friend Mary, who has been visiting, packs for her return home. Here, the lambs and sheep punctuate the birdsong as usual. Hearing the ewe answer its errant lamb adds that all's well with the world dash to this composition. I could easily drop off, but settle for closed eyes while I recreate the valley image from the sounds. So coming back to the breath, if you find the mind wandering, we're just taking a few more moments here. Taking a breath in. Exhale, letting it go. We're going to move in a moment and bring ourselves very, very slowly up to sit. So bringing the arms back down by the sides. And then very gently rolling over onto your side. And just being aware that you've been about 40 minutes lying down. So just taking very, very slowly to bring yourself up to sit. So we're going to do a few more seated poses this evening than we usually do in our restorative practice at other times of year, just because it is kind of a little bit more energetic as restorative yoga goes, I suppose. So we're going to do a couple of cross-legged poses to begin with. So making that as comfortable for you as you can. So it might be that you want to come up onto a little folded blanket just to tilt your pelvis a little bit. And then I think I've shown you before that you can, again, if you're not feeling too warm, because this will have the warmth, you can wrap a blanket sort of in between or sort of over the shins, and just bring that blanket sort of tucked around the legs so that it's between the feet and the legs, just to make that feel a little bit more comfortable, just give you a little bit more padding. And then we're going to have our bolsters in front of us, because essentially we're going to come down into a supported forward fold. So depending on your kind of flexibility, you might do this in a few different ways. So if you have more limited flexibility, then you might want to put your bolster or your pillow up onto its side, and then you'll just come down and rest your head onto your bolster. If you've got a little bit more space in your forward fold, then your bolster will be lengthways, and then you will come down onto your bolster, maybe onto your forearms, that you can come down in that way. And if you've got kind of a lot more flexibility, then you may find that you don't need that bolster. Although with our restorative yoga, we are wanting to be supported rather than looking for the greatest stretch. So choosing what works for you, being honest with what your body is going to appreciate. And then just taking a long breath to lengthen the spine, and then exhale, finding your position. And just tuning into how the body's feeling in this position. If there's anything that doesn't feel right, then adjust it. That might be a prop. That might be just coming a little bit further out of your pose if that's the thing that your body's not so happy about. So just making any adjustments that are needed. And then settling into your pose. Yes, I remember Adlestrop. The name, because one afternoon of heat the express train drew up there unwontedly. It was late June. The steam hissed. Someone cleared his throat. No one left and no one came on the bare platform. What I saw was Adlestrop, only the name, and willows, willow herb, and grass, and meadowsweet, and haycocks dry. No whit less still and lonely fair than the high cloudlets in the sky. And for that minute a blackbird sang close by, and round him, mistier, farther and farther, all the birds of Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire. Just bring back to the breath if you find the mind wandering. Finding steadiness and the rhythm of the inhale and the exhale. Taking a few more moments here. Taking a breath in. And exhale, letting it go. So really supporting yourself with your hands. And from there, on an inhale, pressing yourself very slowly back up to sit. If your bolster's in front of you, taking it over to your right side. And then just releasing the feet and just having a little stretch and a wiggle of the toes. And then we're going to come back into our cross-legged position, supporting it in any way we wish, maybe crossing the legs the opposite way, if you can remember which way the other way was. The way it feels a bit odd. And you're going to have your bolster on your right-hand side. So we're going to do a little sequence of seated stretches, but with a little bit more of a restorative character. So bringing probably the forearm down onto the bolster. If that feels a little bit too much, you can kind of give your bolster a little hug. So we're going to come into a side stretch, but a kind of restorative version of that. So your options are either to have your arm around your bolster, resting your head on there, and then you'll just bring the arm over the top. If you want a little bit more, then you can bring the forearm down onto it and either drop the head, or if you've got a little bit more, maybe even kind of bringing it down even further. So there's your two options. Either giving the bolster a little hug, bringing the head and taking the arm over the head, and then just closing the eyes, tuning into the breath. And as with the previous poses, just adjusting anything that doesn't feel comfortable. Being honest with yourself. I hear it said yon land is poor, in spite of those rich cowslips there, and all the singing larks it shoots to heaven from the cowslip's roots. But I, with eyes that beauty find, and music ever in my mind, feed my thoughts well upon that grass which starves the horse, the ox, and ass. So here I stand, 2 miles to come to Shapwick and my 10 days home, taking my summer's joy, although the distant clouds are dark and low, then comes a storm that fierce and strong has brought the Mendip hills along, those hills that when the light is there are many a sunny mile from here. Just taking a moment or two more here. Taking a breath in and exhale, letting it go. Bringing the arm back over the head. And just bringing yourself back up to sit. And from here, stretching the legs out again, just giving them a little wiggle between poses. Then take the bolster over to the left side. So in a moment, we'll set up and come into the same pose. You need to take the arms back a little bit and just have a little wiggle of the shoulders, releasing the lower back. Feel free to do that. And then we'll take that same cross-legged pose, propping the blanket underneath. And setting up in exactly the same way as you did on the opposite side. So whichever version of the pose you took on your opposite side, just coming into the same pose on this side. So whether that's hugging your bolster or coming down to rest the head in the hand, an elbow on the bolster. And adjusting anything that doesn't feel quite right. So if the arm over the head doesn't feel quite right for you, you can always choose to bring that into your lap or just changing that position. Cut grass lies frail. Grief is the breath, moan stalks exhale. Long, long the death it dies in the white hours of young-leafed June, with chestnut flowers, with hedges snow-like strewn. White lilac bowed, lost lanes of Queen's Anne's lace, and that high-builded cloud moving at summer's pace. Feeling the steady rise and fall of the breath as you inhale and exhale. And then taking a breath in and exhale, letting it go. Bringing the arm back from over the head. And bringing yourself up off your bolster. Bringing it in front of you. Actually, probably stretching out the legs first before you bring it in front of you. So stretching the legs out. Wiggle of the feet. And lean back on the hands. And just taking the shoulders from side to side. And then we're going to do one more kind of seated pose before we then start coming down into our slower poses. So we're going to take the right leg out to the side, and you're going to fold the left leg in so that the heel is towards the groin. And we can Do a little bit of propping with this if we want. We can always prop something underneath the left knee, so that the bent knee. And if you wish to, you can even take something underneath the right knee, so that's your leg that you've got stretched out. Particularly if you've got quite tight hamstrings, you might just want to make that feel a little bit more comfortable. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming into a single-legged forward fold. So similar to our previous pose, your two different options are to either bring your bolster up onto its end, so that you will then rest your head on your bolster and just release the hands to the side as you come forwards. Or if you want something a little bit deeper, you can bring your bolster on its side and you can bring your head into your hands, which you'll be resting on your elbows, or even just resting on the chin. So choosing kind of which version works for you. Obviously, bringing the bolster onto its end allows for perhaps a little bit more of a restorative pose, but it may depend on your body. So just choosing what works for you, adjusting anything that maybe doesn't feel completely happy. And then taking a breath in and exhale, releasing into your pose. Each season brings its magic, and summer's begins in the last week of June, as meadow flowers begin to weave a tapestry of subtle colour through fine meadow grasses. In a local wildflower meadow, ox-eye daisies sway in the breeze. Their beautiful local name of moon daisy describes them perfectly, for the yellow centre looks like the moon rising from its surrounding white petals. The name delights the children I tell this to, as I was delighted when my mother told me as a child. And it's not only children who enjoy the ox-eye daisies. I've watched foxcubs playing among them and occasionally pouncing on them as if they're prey. Bird's foot trefoil, known locally as Tom's thumb, is also a delight, with its bright, dainty yellow flowers and one thumb-like petal that inspired its name. The more so when a common blue settles on one of these fairy tale flowers to suck nectar. Threaded among these flowers are ribbons of yellow rattle, a semi-parasitic plant that feeds on the roots of meadow grasses, keeping them from densely covering the meadows so that wildflowers can set seed. I love the soft flower heads of Yorkshire fog grasses, with their haze of pink here and there, and which, together with cocksfoot meadow grasses, are important larval food plants for a number of our butterfly larvae. A few days later, among the grasses, I find a field vole in a burrow and watch it scuttle across the burrow's entrance below ground. Then, walking quietly and softly along the path, I spot a basking grass snake, easily identified by its yellow collar, which it is doubtless lying in wait for one of the many toads that inhabit this meadow. It slithers away as quickly and smoothly as ribbon across silk when it senses my presence. A green woodpecker is feeding on ants on one of the anthills, but it spots me and flies off with its yaffle signal. As I am admiring it, my attention is caught by a kestrel ahead of me, hovering over and then diving onto an unsuspecting small mammal, which it captures and carries away. Towards dusk, I have watched barn owls catching bank voles and field voles here too, reminding me of the countless species that benefit from wildflower meadows. A black-winged bird flies swiftly past, scooping up insects low over the meadow. One of the glorious, uplifting sights of summer has passed within a whisker, and more swifts follow. I cannot imagine anything more beautiful or uplifting. So coming back to the breath and time the mind drift. Feeling that steady rise and fall. Just taking the final few moments here. Taking a breath in and exhale, letting it go. Pressing yourself up from your position. Stretching the legs out. And give them a little wiggle. And then when you're ready, shifting that same setup onto the opposite side. So bringing the right heel in towards the groin. Hopping underneath the knee if you did so on the opposite side. Stretching the left leg out to the side. It's bringing something underneath the knee, again, if you did on the opposite side. And setting up your bolster however you wish, whether that's on its end or lying flat. So when you're ready to come into your pose, taking a breath in, lengthening the spine, and then exhale, finding your pose. Adjusting anything that doesn't feel right, so bringing any more props into your pose, maybe removing props. Just see what feels like needs adjusting or amending. And then allowing yourself to release completely into your pose. On a summer night, I look up, absorbing the darkness. It takes a few seconds for my eyes to adjust, to focus on the incandescent balls of gas that decorate the sky. Its magnitude is breathtaking, endless possibilities in all directions, clusters of magic in gentle shades of blue, white, pink, and orange. I'm no expert at stargazing, but I lose myself simply looking. The Plough is the first constellation to reveal itself. Part of the Ursa Major, the Great Bear, it never sinks below the horizon. As a result, it remains by my side all year round, a familiar friend in the sky. In the summer months, it rests higher up, the bowl of its saucepan shape leaning towards the ground as if beckoning us to touch it. Using the right-hand stars of the Plough as a guide, I locate Polaris, the North Star. I find it comforting that this star, 434 light years away, offers humans a safe navigational tool to locate true north. Stars march across the sky in all directions, exploding balls of hydrogen and helium illuminating the night sky. I am seeking out my favorite constellation, Orion, a Greek hunter trapped among the stars. The easiest starting point is his belt, and before you know it, his shoulders and feet appear. He commands the sky, his shoulders stretching broadly, his feet sturdy and secure. A dark night like tonight also reveals the Orion Nebula, a fuzzy patch that simmers at the tip of his sword. Using my telescope, I can make out a beautiful swirling pattern of dust. Moving within it are oxygen, silicon, and other minerals which make up many of the rocks here on Earth. This tiny patch of dust, no bigger than a dot in the dark sky, is 1,600 light years away, and yet 167 million miles wide. I am in awe. Like everything on Earth, space is not exempt from death. A supernova, the death of a star, explodes through space. The death is quick, taking over only a few seconds, yet it is transformed into something sublime and radiant. As it releases more energy, the star's brightness increases 100 million times. All of its elements are thrown back into the galaxy, becoming part of the interstellar gas and dust that forms the next generation of stars. Life begins again. Without the death of a star, planets would not exist, including Earth. We have stars to thank for the unique blue and green planet we call Earth. I think of the cities too brightly polluted for the stars to be visible, and feel great loss on behalf of both stars and city. For the gaze of the moon staring down at you and its surrounding family of stars is a spectacle under which many children grow up without ever really seeing it. Give the gift of the stars. Whenever you can, encourage the young to look up and immerse themselves into the greater universe we're part of. Taking notice of the galaxy is good for us. It awakens our souls. Taking a final few moments here. And then healing yourself up from your pose, bringing yourself back up to sit. And stretching out the legs, giving them a little wiggle. And then from here, we're going to set up for a sequence of poses that we often do in our restorative workshops, where we have the same setup but slightly different body positions. So you're going to need a couple of blocks or pillows or something underneath your bolster or your longer pillow. So setting those up at the head of your mat and then propping your bolster onto them so that you make yourself kind of a little bit of a slope. And we're going to start off initially with child's pose. So we're going to be facing our bolster setup. If you have got an eye pillow, you can bring it onto the back of the neck for this pose. Obviously, you can't manage to do it on the eyes because that's a bit tricky. If you do want to bring any padding underneath the knees, you can do. And if the knees feel a little bit uncomfortable in this pose, you can bring a blanket behind the backs of the knees and kind of sit back onto it. So that just allows a little bit more space for the knees to do that. So you're going to make sure that the bolster's between your legs, hands either side, inhaling to lengthen the spine, and then exhale, laying yourself down. And you're going to bring, unless it feels okay for you to have your face pressed straight down into the bolster, you're probably going to bring one of your ears onto the bolster so your head is turned to the side. And at the halfway point, I will just let you know to turn the head so that you can bring it onto the opposite side. At the bottom of my garden, there's a hedgehog and a frog, and a lot of creepy crawlies living underneath a log. There's a baby daddy longlegs and an easygoing snail and a family of woodlice. All are on my nature trail. There are caterpillars waiting for their time to come to fly. There are worms turning the earth over as ladybirds fly by. Birds will visit, cats will visit, but they always choose their time. And I've even seen a fox visit this wild garden of mine. Squirrels come to nick my nuts, and busy bees come buzzing. And when the night time comes, sometimes dragonflies come humming. My garden mice are very shy, and I've seen bats that growl. And in my garden I have seen a very wise old owl. My garden is a lively place. There's always something happening. There's this constant search for food, and then there's all that flowering. When you have a garden, you will never be alone, and I believe we all deserve a garden of our own. Back to the breath if you find the mind drifting. Just bringing your head onto the opposite side and switching the turn of the head. And back to the breath at any time that the mind drifts. Focusing on the steady inhale and exhale. So just taking a final few moments here. And taking your breath in. And exhale there, letting it go. And you supporting yourself with your hands. And pressing yourself back up to sit. And from here, going to lie ourselves back, bringing our feet up onto our bolster. We're going to come into kind of inversion. You might want to have a little pillow for the head. And we're just going to lie ourselves back, relaxing the legs, allowing feet to fall out to the side. Hands, palms facing up. Taking a breath in. And then exhale, letting it go. Softening into your support. In this one of all fields I know the best, all day and night, hoarse and melodious, sounded a creeping corncrake coloured like the ground, till the cats got him and gave the rough air rest. Mechanical August, dowdy in the reeds, he ground his quern, and the round minutes sifted away in the powdery light. He would never lift his beady periscope over the dusty hayseeds. Cunning low runner, tobogganing on his breast, he slid from sight once from my feet. He only became the grass, then stone scraped harsh on stone, boxing the compass round his trivial nest. Summer is now diminished, is less by him. Something that it could say cannot be spoken, although the language of a subtle folk had lost a word that had no synonym. Turning back to the breath if you find the mind drifting. Just taking a final few moments in this pose. Taking a breath in. And exhale, letting it go. Drawing the knees towards you. And then from here, we're going to turn ourselves around so that now you have your lower back facing the end of your bolster. And we're going to come into our final heart opener, kind of slightly deeper version of our pose at the start. And then we'll move into our yoga nidra after. So for this, you might want to have your eye pillow, which you can obviously use for the next bit as well. And you're probably going to want to make yourself a little pillow at the top of your bolster, just to rest your head on and support your neck. And then depending on what you want to do with the legs, you might want to have some blocks to bring underneath the knees. You can either have the legs just straight out away from you, or you can bring the feet together and just allow the knees to fall out, so coming into your full bound angle pose. So if you've got things you can prop underneath the knees, you can do. There is a way you can bring a yoga strap around, but it's complicated enough to explain in person, let alone via Zoom. So probably propping is easier. So you're going to take a breath in and then exhale, just laying yourself down onto your support, opening the hands to the ceiling, and just exhale, sink completely into your support. I leave the sleepy village of half a dozen houses and head off over the stile, following a small path which rises steeply through lush grass and fresh bracken stems. It's muddy and in damper conditions would be ankle deep and slippery, but today it's baked dry, pitted with the hooves of livestock. A thin layer of high clouds softens the fierceness of the Scottish sun, and skylarks pour out their song as they hang in the air, then flutter to earth. The sea has just come into view, shimmering, blue, calm, expansive. I pause for breath and pick up the perfumes of gorse, marvelling at the vibrant yellow flowers packed so tightly between the prickles. I climb up the cliff, following the path which soon levels out, leaving the gorse bushes behind. I am surrounded by flowers and serenaded with birdsong. The path meanders up and down the folds in the landscape, and with the sea on my right, I look for a place to rest. Most of the ground is too steep and stony for comfort, but eventually my search is rewarded. Moving a protruding briar and a couple of stones, I get out the thermos. Butterflies flit from flower to flower, while a nearby rock pipit furiously protests that I have invaded his patch. From this point there is a wide arc of deep blue sparkling sea visible, the horizon hidden in heat haze. About 30 meters below me I can see a stretch of beach and hear the waves lapping the rocks. A pair of oyster catchers fly past, skimming the water and scolding loudly, their bright red beaks and black and white plumage glinting in the sun. Some terns arrive, screeching with excitement as they dive into the sea, then fly up again before the water droplets have settled. My eye is caught by a flash of white out to sea, a gannet. I watch as it flies in great arcs across the sea, and then suddenly swoops, folding its great wings at the last minute. It enters the sea like an arrow, and I'm sure I can hear the impact. I use binoculars to watch the area where it disappeared, and in a few minutes it bobs up like a cork fish in beak. It has to heave on its wings in order to become airborne, only to repeat the process time and time again. I could watch it for hours. Eventually it flies off close to the water, prop heavy with fish. The tide must be at its lowest point by now, and as the waves rise and fall in the bay below me, rocks and seaweed appear and disappear in the swell. Then 3 dark shapes appear about a meter or so out to sea. First they're there, then they're gone. It's definitely not rocks or seaweed. What is it? A seal? It's too small and seals don't normally behave like that. I watch fascinated and train the binoculars on it. This time when it dives, I see a tail quite clearly. It must be an otter. He makes his way along the bay, always a meter or 2 from the shoreline. He dives and resurfaces, takes a look around, then dives again, both playful and industrious at the same time. Eventually he moves behind a large rock out of my line of vision. The clouds thin, and I consider closing my eyes and nodding off in the warmth when I see the 3 dark shapes again, head, body, and tail. A moment ago they were to the left of that dark patch of sea, then in the dark patch and now to the right of it. He's making his way slowly but surely towards me. And breath in. And exhale there, letting it go. Just taking a final few moments in this pose. And then supporting the legs if you have come into your full bound angle pose. Bringing them together. And then from here, rolling over onto your side and off your bolster. And we're going to make our way back into Shavasana, so back into our pose which we started the class with. Now we're going to set yourself up for your yoga nidra. So it's going to be about 15 minutes or so. So probably wanting to bring a bolster underneath your knees, and probably thinking about bringing a pillow underneath the head, and maybe even covering yourself with a blanket. I know we are moving into summer, but it is now, as you can tell from the light, getting later in the evening. So you might find that you want to cover yourself, maybe put some socks on, And just make sure that you're going to be able to focus and not be distracted by feeling a little bit chilly. And as I said at the start, you don't need to say anything at the end of the class. I will simply finish, and you can choose to stay where you are, or if you're asleep, then you can stay asleep. And I thank you very much for joining me this evening, and I hope that you'll be able to join me again soon. So closing the eyes, using an eye pillow if you have one, or an eye mask, and then lying on your back in Shavasana. Adjusting anything that needs adjusting, your body, your position, your clothes, your props, making sure that you feel completely comfortable. During Yoga Nidra, you should try to remain still, and if you feel the need to move, just questioning whether this is a distraction the mind's creating, or if you absolutely necessarily need to move. If you haven't done so already, closing the eyes and keeping them closed until I tell you to open them. Taking another deep breath in. And exhale, letting it go. Allowing your body to become heavy and surrendering yourself completely to the floor. And in the practice which follows, you're going to develop a feeling of relaxation in the body. It's not necessary to make any particular movements or deliberately relax your muscles, but simply develop the feeling of relaxation. It's like the feeling that you have just before sleep. When relaxation becomes deep, sleep does come. But if you can, try to keep yourself awake. However, if you drift off, just joining back in when you're awake, or simply taking it as a sign that your body needs to rest. But during Yoga Nidra, you're functioning on the levels of hearing and awareness, and the only important thing is to follow my voice. And sometimes you will be aware of what I'm saying, and sometimes it will just be in the background, following my voice with total attention and feeling. And if thoughts come to disturb you from time to time, don't worry, but just continue with the practice. Allowing yourself to become calm and steady. And now bringing about a feeling of inner relaxation in the whole body. Concentrating on the body and becoming aware of the importance of complete stillness. Developing your awareness of the body from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. Complete stillness and complete awareness of the whole body. Continuing your awareness of the whole body, the whole body, the whole body. Now it's time for you to make your sankalpa, your affirmation or positive mental statement. And your sankalpa will be something very simple, a short, positive statement in simple language tuned into the season. Something like, I spend time outdoors. I spend time doing things I enjoy. I treat myself and others with kindness. Whatever you choose, saying it 3 times in your mind with awareness, feeling, and emphasis. We'll now begin our rotation of consciousness and awareness by taking a trip through the different parts of the body. As quickly as possible, moving your awareness to go from part to part, repeating the part in your mind, and at the same time becoming aware of that part of the body, keeping yourself alert without concentrating too intensely. Becoming aware of the right hand thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, palm of the hand, becoming aware of your palm, back of the hand, the wrist, the lower arm, the elbow, the upper arm, the shoulder, the armpit, the right waist, the right hip, the right thigh, the right kneecap, the calf muscle, the ankle, the heel, the sole of the right foot, the top of the foot, the big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Becoming aware of the left hand thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, the wrist, the lower arm, the elbow, the upper arm, the shoulder, the armpit, the left waist, the left hip, the left thigh, the kneecap, the calf muscle, the ankle, the heel, the sole of the left foot, the top of the foot, the big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Moving your awareness to the back, becoming aware of the right shoulder blade, the left shoulder blade, the right buttock, the left buttock, the spine, the whole back together. Now going to the top of the head, the forehead, both sides of the head, the right eyebrow, the left eyebrow, the space between the eyebrows, the right eyelid, the left eyelid, the right eye, the left eye, the right ear, the left ear, the right cheek, the left cheek, the nose, the tip of the nose, the upper lip, the lower lip, the chin, the throat, the right chest, the left chest, the middle of the chest, the abdomen, the whole of the right leg, the whole of the left leg, both legs together, the whole of the right arm, the whole of the left arm, both arms together, the whole of the back, buttocks, spine, shoulder blades, the whole of the front, abdomen, chest, the whole of the back and front together, the whole of the head, the whole body together, the whole body together, the whole body together, the whole body on the floor, becoming aware of your body lying on the floor. Your body is lying on the floor. Feel your body lying perfectly still on the floor in your room. Becoming aware of your breath. Feeling the flow of your breath in and out of your lungs. Not trying to change the rhythm. The breathing is natural, automatic. You're not doing it. There is no effort. Maintaining awareness of your breath. Complete awareness of your breath. Now concentrating your awareness on the movement of your abdomen. Concentrating on your abdomen. The abdomen is rising and falling slightly with every breath, with each and every breath extending and contracting. Concentrating on this movement in synchronization with your breath. And now starting to count your breaths backwards from 27 to 1 like this. 27 inhaling. 27 exhaling. And so on. And if you find yourself losing count, then just coming back to the 27 and beginning again. Saying the words and numbers mentally to yourself as you count your breaths. And now stopping your counting and leaving your breathing. And you're coming on to visualization. I'll name a number of different things which we might associate with summer. And you should try to develop a vision of them on all levels. Feeling, awareness, emotion, imagination, as best you can. Ripe red strawberries. Ripe red strawberries. Ripe red strawberries. A gently flowing stream. A gently flowing stream. A gently flowing stream. Smooth sand between your toes. Smooth sand between your toes. Smooth sand between your toes. A gently swaying cornfield. A gently swaying cornfield. A gently swaying cornfield. Cool glass of water. a cool glass of water, a cool glass of water. And now repeating your Sankalpa, repeating the same affirmation you made at the beginning of the practice. Don't change it. Repeating your affirmation 3 times with full awareness and feeling. And now letting go of all of your efforts. Drawing your mind outside and becoming aware of your breathing. Becoming aware of the natural breath. Becoming aware again of the whole body in your breathing. The body is lying totally relaxed on the floor. You're breathing quietly and slowly. Developing awareness of your body from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. Becoming aware of the floor and the position of your body lying on the floor. Visualizing your room around you. Becoming aware of your surroundings. Lying quietly, keeping your eyes closed. And the practice of yoga nidra is now finished. You can choose to remain here a little longer. Or if you're ready to come back, starting to move a little, wiggling your fingers and toes, raising your arms up above your head and stretching from fingers down to the toes, drawing the knees into the chest, having a little rock from side to side. If you're ready to, rolling over onto your side and slowly blinking the eyes open, keeping a soft gaze to the eyes. And then very slowly, and only if you are ready, you can bring yourself back up to sit. But if you would prefer to stay where you are, or if you've fallen asleep, then I thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope that you have a lovely week ahead, a lovely season ahead, and I will see you again very soon.